Hey guys, Charles Damiano here from the Bruce Lee Collection for another exciting episode. And today I'm here with my good friend, Luis Cotto. Luis, how's it going, buddy?
Thank you.
We finally arrived at your house. I'm here with my friend Hector Martinez as well, who you guys will see in a little while. But today's focus is going to be on Luis Cotto, who's a big Bruce Lee collector, as well as collector of memorabilia from the 60s, 70s, 80s, of all his favorite shows from that era. And today I want to get a chance to know a little bit more about Luis, how he started in Bruce Lee collecting and other collecting. So I'm going to ask you a few questions on that, and then I want to find out how you put together this incredible man cave, because this must have taken you years to put together. And we're also going to do a room tour later where we can actually show people every wall of your collection here, because, you know, between 2 rooms and 4 walls, there's 8 walls of packed memorabilia that we can show people who are interested in collecting and Bruce Lee collecting.
Absolutely.
Sound good?
Yes.
All right. So let's start with you. So how did you first get into, first of all, Bruce Lee collecting, and then I'd like to find out how you also got into collecting, you know, the other half of the room, which is memorabilia on everything from the 60s, 70s, 80s. So let's start with Bruce Lee first. How did you first get into Bruce Lee collecting?
Well, Bruce Lee, for me, hit me back when I was 11, back in 1971, 72. And I used to go to the art theater, and that's where on Jerome and Tremont Avenue.
Oh, okay.
And then they used to have those little posters that they put out on Bruce Lee, you know, at the window. And
yep.
I went in, and actually, the first movie that I saw was with Angela Mao, Deadly China Doll, I think it was.
Yes.
And then they had a preview of Fist of Fury. And when I saw the preview of Fist of Fury, I was blown away, because I had never seen anyone move the way he moved in that. So the following week, I couldn't wait for the following week so that way I can come and see the movie. And when I did go, it was amazing to see a man move as gracefully as he did.
Yeah.
And everything that he did was so realistic, you know, in his fight scenes. I got hooked and constantly going to movies every other week.
Wow.
I grew up watching a lot of movies, a lot of James Cagney, John Wayne, and I began collecting posters and magazines.
Okay.
And I would cut them out and put them in my room. And then I went to art school, learned how to draw, and then I would draw my favorite characters. And then I started buying things that would be like collectibles, like hats or shirts that would represent someone in the movie.
Yeah.
And then slowly I would put them in boxes and just put them away, because I didn't think I was ever going to amount to where I am right now after all these years.
Yeah.
But in the 90s is when I really began with Brandon Lee and Rapid Fire and all that. I started buying a lot of the VHS tapes. At the current moment, I have about 1,000 VHS tapes in my collection. And I have close to 8,000 DVDs.
Oh my God.
But throughout the years, I just kept piling them up and piling them up. And then when my wife and I were looking for a place to live, she says, I'm going to show you a house. And when she showed me this house, she says, if you buy me this house, you can do whatever you want downstairs.
Ooh, you got open rights to the basement.
Yes. So then I transformed this basement in the last 17 years into a museum of collectibles, which is half Bruce Lee and the other half is like John Wayne, James Cagney, Alfred Hitchcock, and all the ones that I grew up with, like
Star
Frankenstein,
Trek,
King
Marvel,
Kong. Yes.
the whole works.
And then my nephews and my son got me into going Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that I was at the right age to want to go do that. But when I went the first time, and I was blown away, over 200,000 people were at the New York Comic-Con.
That's huge, Comic-Con.
Yes. I was very much into martial arts and stuff, so I started dressing up as Kung Fu guy or the Flash or Batman.
So you really played the part, because I saw some photos of you dressed up at all the Comic-Cons, and you met Lou Ferrigno, right?
Yeah, Lou Ferrigno.
The Hulk and some of the others that were there at the time.
Ray Parker from Star Wars.
Star Wars. I think Aquaman you met, the guy who plays Aquaman,
yeah, I have photos with him and the people from Walking Dead. A few photos I have with them.
So you really played the part, man. You get into it.
I did. And then now that I have my grandkids and my nieces and nephews, when they come here, they want to do a movie night.
Yeah.
So one particular weekend we did a Star Wars marathon.
Oh wow.
We did 8 movies, And I gave away prizes. I asked questions after the movie, and we had popcorn and hot dogs and hamburgers that we made.
I know. So you have a popcorn machine
Yes.
here. You have all
Yes.
the goobers and the famous candies that we used to see in the movie
Yeah,
theaters back
yeah.
in the 70s. And
Right.
you made it really very nostalgic, which is great.
The thing is that back in the old days, it was one theater with 500 seats.
Yep.
Nowadays, a lot of kids don't see that. What they see is multiple complexes of different theaters all in one.
all in one.
And, you know, I would pay $1.25 to see 2 movies.
Yep.
And nowadays it's like $15-20
To see one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I did was I took my 8,000 DVDs and I took my VHS and I created a movie theater down here. So that way my family, my friends could join me on watching some of the old school
I
movies.
could see that, and we're sitting in some of the
Yeah.
movie seats that you
Yeah.
put in the movie theater
I
here,
actually
right?
purchased some real movie theater seats
I
that
can
I
see
wanted
that.
them to have, the
This is
actual
like,
cushions.
wow.
Yeah, and they're pretty
The old
heavy-duty.
days when I used to go to the Academy of Music in Jefferson Theater and
Really?
used to sit in these things, used to bring it down,
Yeah. So I mean,
sit there watching your favorite film.
I make people give me tickets and sit down, and then we sit back and we enjoy classic movies. I
Well,
mean, it's a lot of fun.
yeah.
And they tell me, why do you keep the DVDs? Why don't you just consolidate them into sleeves? It's like a book for me. It has the history, has the photo, and the back tells you the story.
Yeah.
And I love it that way.
Yeah.
I prefer it that way. As a matter of fact, last year we
As
had...
opposed to putting them all in a sleeve where
Yeah,
you just flip the
just flip
DVDs.
them.
You know, I like them in the cover also.
Yeah.
That's what's beautiful. The covers of the DVDs
Right, and you
really
get to
bring you back.
People can look at it and they'll say like, "Oh my God, you have this movie and this movie explains that." And sci-fi's and martial
Yeah.
arts. I have over 800 martial arts. I have about 300 westerns, and action and comedy and collectibles.
Yeah.
It adds
Wow.
up to the whole 8,000.
Well, you did a really good thing with creating the experience of what it was like back in the 70s and 80s as you go through the genres. You know, every one of your walls is a different genre. And that's what collecting is all about, right? It kind of brings you back. And I know when Hector and I first came down here, we were like, oh my God, we were overwhelmed because it stirs up all those memories that you had of a kid. And you start running to that collectible that you remember when you watch Star Wars or you watch King Kong or Godzilla and Laurel and Hardy and Alfred Hitchcock, and all those memories and experiences come through your mind, and it gives you, makes you happy. It makes you feel that feeling that you had when you were a kid watching it. It brings you back.
Yeah, it brings you back.
Down that memory lane, and that's what you created here, which is great.
A lot of people meditate. This is my meditation. This room that I created is my meditation, and it makes me happy when I get to share it with others.
Yeah, man.
You know, because I want them to experience what it was like, what I went through growing up. You know, so this is why I have what I have, and I enjoy every little bit of it. I mean, it's never ending, and I'm limited to the space that I have. But collecting is so important to me, and I know that I can pass all these things on to my sons and my grandkids.
That's fantastic, man. Do you remember some of the first memorabilia you bought on Bruce Lee at that time? Like what?
The
what
first
you
one?
first started buying back then when you started?
Back then, I started buying. I started buying the first action figures. I went to. What's the name of that comic store in Midtown Comics?
Oh, Midtown Comics. Yeah.
So I brought one or two of the action figures that they had of Bruce Lee. And then very slowly I continued collecting. But I kept looking more for the nostalgic ones like Alfred Hitchcock and the Honeymooners and things like that. I started going towards eBay. I went on eBay and I found a lot of the items that I really wanted into my home. So little by little, I kept collecting in that fashion. But as far as Bruce Lee's concerned, going to events that had Bruce Lee items for sale, I would purchase. And people that know me would give me gifts and Bruce Lee items. And one of the biggest catch that I had in collecting most of the Bruce Lee stuff is when I met John Negron.
Yes.
John Negron has such...
Out in North Carolina, right?
Yeah, in North Carolina. His collection is above and beyond over 18,000 of everything. Of everything.
Yeah.
And so he inspired me to continue my search. You know, I get inspired sometimes when I watch your channel, and sometimes I'll watch Hector's. And you guys have like his facial mask,
life mask,
the crow's
life mask.
You know, so all those things fascinate me. They really do, because it brings back memories of when I was a child.
Yeah.
And so it continues to inspire me to find collectibles that I enjoy having. You know, one of the things that I'm trying to get is like the Time Machine from 1960, H.G. Wells, the Time Machine.
Oh wow, it was classic.
I would love to get my hands on that. If I had more room, I would buy full figure action figures and have them displayed, but I do not have that luxury.
Yeah, life-size action figures.
Yeah, I'm content with
Well, you have one. You have Cotto there in the corner, which we'll show people. You have him holding the dart.
Yeah.
He got the mask on, the hat, and you created that yourself,
Yes,
right?
I did.
So you have fun also putting these design elements together.
I do.
You have a very creative side to you.
Yeah. And my oldest son, I bought him a screen and a projector, and pretty soon we're going to be doing a project in his basement where we're going to convert it into a music room, because he's a musician, and a movie theater area.
Wow.
So I love doing stuff like this. I always thought maybe I should do this on the side for fun. But
well, you do a great job at it, and
yet
I love this movie theater experience that you've created here with the chairs and the popcorn. It really brings you back.
Yeah, and when you shut off the lights and you turn on the surround sound, you're in another world. You get transported to another world.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to. So how long did it actually take you to put this whole basement area together? You said you're living in the house right now, 17 years?
17 years. It took
and when
me
did you start
I
doing
started
it?
exactly the first year we moved in.
You did?
I had an actual jukebox down here, which I have on the other side of the basement at the moment. But I put in an actual jukebox because I wanted to hear music to inspire me to work on the sections of what I wanted to get done. And I was limited 17 years ago to the things that I had, but I still displayed whatever I had available at that time.
Wow.
And little by little, between that point to this point now, it is full to capacity.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if you could fit anything else in the rooms down here. So it just evolved over the last 17 years, right? Where you just kept adding a section and you started just continuing to build it out.
Yes.
And now you're at full capacity here.
Yes, I am.
You need a bigger house.
I do. Either that
like they say in George, you need a bigger boat.
Knock the wall down and continue the rest of the basement.
Wow. Well, you did a great job.
Thank you.
I'm excited to give people a room tour in a second because I want to take them through every section. And I want you to talk a little bit about each of the sections that you put together. You up for something like that?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do that. Let's start now. And I'm going to have you actually start by coming down the steps because you even were very creative in the steps that you put here.
Hallway.
And the hallway that leads you into this man cave here.
Okay.
Of memorabilia, okay?
Absolutely.
So let's start with that.
Sure. Sounds good.
All right, guys. Stay tuned. We're going to be right back.
Welcome, everyone, to the Luis Cotto Nostalgia Museum. I'm going to start showing you everything that we have down here. Enjoy. All right, Charlie, let's start on this side and I'll show you exactly what I have here. This is my Bruce Lee museum area that I keep.
So this is the dedicated Bruce Lee room then?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And starting from
let's start here.
From this corner on, I have a lot of the Green Hornet comics that came out in the 90s, representing everything that Bruce Lee did back in the Green Hornet days. And here I have most of the posters of all the Bruce Lee movies
I could see that
he had done. We go from Game of Death to Into the Dragon, Way of the Dragon, Fist of Fury, which was Chinese Connection, and then Fist of Fury that was actually called The Big Boss.
And these are some of the things that you've picked up along the way at different memorabilia shops.
As the years went on, I kept purchasing newer items of Bruce Lee.
Got you. And then you decided to put these all in frames, and you decided to.
I decided to set this whole area only for him. And this, for example, here is...
Yeah, this is a very unique piece. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this camera and then the photo that goes with it?
Well, I was a lot into filmmaking in school, and I did a lot of film projects. And when I realized that Bruce Lee owned a camera where he filmed his own family, I found that so interesting because him being a writer and a creator and a martial artist the way he was, he had time to purchase this particular camera, which is a replica of the one that he owned. And I purchased this from a woman in Seattle, Washington, and she sold it to me, and I wanted to have it because I felt as if I was close to him in some sense of what it would have been like to be behind this camera filming my own family.
Wow, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, here he is with Linda Lee, and Brandon, and they have the camera in hand, and you were able to go out and find this exact replica
camera
of the camera, which he was using back in the 60s. And,
yes.
And that's when this is from, right?
Yes, from the 60s.
It's an original camera from the 60s.
It is.
And you found...
On the bottom, you would twist it, and it would charge itself where you just press the button, and it automatically filmed. No batteries.
Yeah, Bruce Lee was very innovative at that time, and he was one of the first to start doing his own home movies back at that time, because he wanted to see what the fight choreography would look like on screen.
Yes.
So he was working with Ted Wong and Danny Santos, and all of it was to lead towards his movie career later on, which a lot of people don't know. He was already testing how the kicks would look and how the punches would look to make it the most realistic possible, right? So that's why he bought these early on in his career.
One of the things that I found fascinating also with the camera is the fact that when Bruce Lee was using it personally for himself, along with the people that he taught how to martial arts, like James Coburn, and Steve McQueen, he choreographed the fight scenes. I believe the title was The Wrecking Crew.
Yes. Dean Martin.
Yes, and so for me to see that he had a hand in all of those things, and knowing that I have movies of Steve McQueen and I have movies of James Coburn and a lot of the actors like Peter Shin.
Yep.
He was in The Wrecking Crew.
Yes.
And so was Chuck Norris.
Yes.
You know, they had little small
lines at the time. It's so funny.
It's amazing to see that these folks that he was training and teaching were in some of the movies that he was at one point wanting to be a part of.
Himself, right? But they were hiring him at the time as the fight coordinator, right?
Yes.
The stunt guy at the time. So he was kind of getting his foot in the door back then, right? When they were making those type of movies.
Yeah, one of the things that he loved about being in Marlowe, when he was in Marlowe, is that he wanted to do it for the suits. He was so fascinated by the suits that were tailored to him. Yeah, because it made him look good.
Oh, he looked great in that scene.
Man. So
Hector and I were just talking about that driving up here. That we were wondering where the Marlowe suit was that he had on, because he looked so great in that suit, and you never see it in any auctions or memorabilia houses that you can bid on it. Yeah. I wonder what happened to that suit. But,
I don't know.
Yeah, that would be great to own.
But a person to wear a suit like that and be as flexible as he was, the way he did those high kicks.
I know, to the light.
And then his precision and stance and the way he moved, he was unique, man.
Oh, man. He was artistic on screen. It's just, you couldn't keep your eyes off of him when you saw that.
He was totally amazing.
He took over those scenes in Marlowe. I mean, the movie was good with James Garner, but those scenes are now classic. When you see him enter the room, the whole room lights up when you know he's on screen now.
His smile? Oh. You would never consider him to be a villain.
Yeah, exactly.
But he was a classy villain.
Yes, he was.
With style.
Yes.
It's unfortunate he jumped off the roof by mistake, but
exactly.
You know what? He had his bit.
He did. So let's go to another section. Let's go to this next wall over here, because I want to talk a little bit about that wall. You have a lot of Green Hornet stuff, Batman stuff, everything tied to Bruce in the early part of his career in the 60s. So let's come on this side now.
Okay.
All right, so we're in another section of the Bruce Lee room here. We're on the other side of the room now. So tell us a little bit about this wall, how you put this together, and then we'll kind of move to that second wall over here. This seems to be a lot of your memorabilia from the early days, Bruce's early career. You got Green Hornet here, you got a little Batman action. So why don't we start with some of these figures on this item here, and then we'll work our way up to the wall. Well, what are some of your favorite items here?
Sure, one of my big favorite items is the original Green Hornet car from 1966.
I love that.
It's a die-cast 1.6 scale. And
put out by Artport, right?
Yes, it is detailed, completely detailed. And the car above is the year after, but it was basically the type of car that Bruce Lee owned.
The red Mercedes, yes.
So that's a replica of that.
I love it.
These two cars are the original cars from the 1941 Batman series. This was the kind of car that he drove back then. And believe it or not, Batman used to carry a gun. And he would shoot and ask questions later. This is the original Green Hornet from the radio talk show from 1936.
Yes.
And this is from 1949 Green Hornet serial that they had on TV for a while.
This is what started the regular Green Hornet series, yes.
Right, and this was the car that they drove back in this series.
Look at that, beautiful.
a lot of these things that I have here, like the Green Hornet VHS tapes in the back, some of the Bruce Lee games. This is an actual Spanish of the Chinese Connection that I purchased. And
tell us the story behind these figures.
Well,
Like, what
these
are these
figures
green?
here-
I've never seen this Green Hornet and Kato figure, which is a very nice likeness. He has the nunchucks here.
Yeah.
He has his hat. How'd those come about?
Well, I met a guy 3 months ago on eBay, and he was wanting to sell his Green Hornet collection. He told me that they were one of a kind. He had friends that were designers,
Yeah.
and they used to do puppets, and he had asked them to make him a Green Hornet action figure, and they did. Unfortunately, throughout the years, they passed away, and he owned the originals. And he is ill right now, and he wanted someone else to own them. And then he saw one of my episodes on my channel.
Yeah.
And he reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in purchasing the Green Hornet and Kato. And when I saw them, the way they look so close to the actual photos that I have
you can
here.
see the actual photo there. of
Yeah,
them
you
in
can
there.
see like Bruce Lee's chin detail
Yeah.
is the same. Mr. Williams's chin and facial expression, the clothes. I mean,
I like these better than these that came out in the 90s.
oh, these were horrible.
These were, I have this also, the Captain Action, but
Yeah.
you would think they would put something a little better
Yeah.
of Kato and the Green Hornet. And then you look at these, and these are
No.
hand custom built
They were custom
by the
built.
guys. So these are one of one.
Yeah, you're not-
I've never seen those before.
I'll never find these anywhere else.
Wow,
These are
you-
definitely one of a kind.
You are very fortunate to own these because I love the likeness he made in those
Yeah.
films. He really took
It's
his time
amazing.
with that. It really is.
I was blessed to be able to meet this gentleman.
Wow.
And so Shannon Lee signed these two comics that I
Oh, yeah, I
own.
see her signature over there.
My nephew gave them to me as a gift on Father's Day,
Yeah.
and he knew that I was a big Bruce Lee fan, so he gave me that one and the one that's behind.
Yeah, you got
She
Shannon's
signed them both.
autographs on those.
I do have another Bruce Lee in Spanish, which is Fist of Fury. And a lot of the collectibles that I have here on the action figures I got from John Negron. He sold
Good
it to
old
me.
John Negron.
Yes, he sold me the Immortal Dragon and the Hong Kong Dragon action figures. So a lot of the little ones, especially these, are from the 80s.
Yep.
And he says you can't find these anymore.
Yeah, no,
And
yeah, I've never
each
seen
one of
those.
these go for like 125
Yeah,
bucks now.
yeah,
I
no, these are
think.
great.
You know, you don't find those anymore at all. And then on top of that, I have this little wall area here. This is a Bruce Lee puzzle that my daughter-in-law knew I was a big fan of Bruce Lee, and she loves puzzles. So this is a 1,000-piece puzzle that she put together and gave to me on my birthday.
Yeah, yeah. And tell us the whole idea here behind the bed. Can you just sit in there for us?
Sure.
The little bed here. So what is this? So
So
you come down here and
I-
relax. This
what
is
I
like
do-
your hideaway.
Yeah, I sit here and I draw.
Yeah.
And I have a small screen TV, and
Okay.
I have 1,000 VHS tapes, and I have a few martial art VHS tapes here on the outside. I pop them in the VHS machine, I sit back, and I watch some of these nostalgic.
Can you just sit back and just give us
Sure.
an idea how you relax on this
Oh
little?
my goodness, I'll fall asleep on
Wow! Look, and you'll just pop the tape
yeah,
in.
I'll patch the tape
and
in, and then sometimes I'll close the curtain, and the curtain itself
And
is
this
that
is
of
your
a-
real. Let me just
Yes.
close this real quick.
It's
This
the game of
becomes your
death.
little hideaway.
Yeah,
And you got this nice little Game of Death curtain on here.
yeah.
Wow, you did a really nice, intricate job on this, man.
Thank you.
That is wonderful.
So
wow.
yeah, so sometimes we have guests.
Yeah.
And then they'll ask me, if I sleep, can I sleep in your little cubby corner? And I'm like, sure, you can sleep here. It's
That
okay.
is-
And the
that
man
is
cave
wild.
is for everyone to enjoy.
And pick up that book a minute. That's a really old classic book. This top one over
This
here.
one here is in
Remember
the
this one,
case.
Hector?
I got these
Look
from
at this. Oh
John
man,
Negron.
I love it. I love it.
And it is,
This brings back memories.
you got 2 books in there.
Stay tuned for part 2 with Bruce Lee and memorabilia collector Luis Cotto as we continue with our Bruce Lee and memorabilia room tour, uncovering and reviewing more of his Bruce Lee collectibles and more memorabilia from Marvel, King Kong, Star Trek, to John Wayne, Elvis, the Three Stooges, and much more coming soon.